Hi everyone, it's Don and I hope you're having a fantastic day. Well, we have a lot of interruptions with the wonder of the seas. We have a cruise ship again in Australia, not Princess this time. It's another cruise ship that's been turned away from a cruise port because of too many cases of COVID on board. And now we also have Royal Caribbean making main dining room changes, and some people are freaking out. In our first story, the Wonder of the Seas, the current largest cruise ship in the world, which by the way, I'm heading to after next weekend. Well, it's going to be delayed getting back to Port Canaveral. Now, the reason they're going to be delayed is a good reason. It's not a mechanical breakdown or anything like that. It was because they decided that it was best for a passenger who was in medical distress if they turned the ship around and headed back to San Juan, Puerto Rico, where they could receive hospital and medical attention. Now, because of this delay, the ship will be a full day late getting back to Port Canaveral. It won't get back until 4 a.m. on the 28th. Well, it was supposed to sail on the 27th, which means all the people sitting there that can fit on that 7,000 passenger cruise ship is now scrambling for hotels or changing air flights, and the people on board changing air flights and trying to figure out how to get home because of the 1 day delay. Now, if you're going to have to face delay, better than a storm, better than a medical, perhaps saving somebody's life is a pretty darn good reason for having all this happen. But it's still a huge inconvenience for those, especially, I don't know about you lately, but I've been staying in hotels and I look at a hotel, for instance, my friend Tony and Jenny and I, they said, hey, we're booking this hotel for our next cruise. Why don't you stay there with us? I said, sure. And I was on my way home. I was flying home. I said, I'll book it tomorrow morning. Well, I went to book it the next day and it was sold out because hotels are selling out on cruise days because the cruise ships are so full. So imagine now that you're sitting in port and you're in a hotel and you say, well, hi guys, my ship's delayed. I need to stay here another night. And they say, sorry, your room is already booked. And now you're scrambling to find a hotel room. And that is a lot of what's happening right now for passengers on Wonder of the Seas. Not terrific. Now, the next sailing for the Wonder will skip Nassau because of the 1 day delay, but they still will be going to Perfect Day at Coco Cay as planned. It's funny how they always can manage to get to the private island where when you spend money on it, it's all going to Royal Caribbean. I'm not saying that's planned. I'm just saying it's funny how that happens. Now, if you decide you don't want to go on a shortened cruise, Royal Caribbean is offering the passengers a 100% future cruise credit, plus, of course, reimbursements if you booked anything on board or shore excursions and things like that. If you decide to take the cruise, you will receive a 1 day refundable onboard credit, which means if you don't spend it, that money will go back onto your card, as well as anything that you purchased for that day or the missed shore excursions in perhaps Nassau. So a very unavoidable thing, but something like a medical emergency on board that can cause such havoc with thousands and thousands of people on a cruise ship is a little bit crazy and inconvenient for a lot of people. Second story, once again in Australia area, we have a cruise ship that has over 10% of the passengers on board have tested positive for COVID. That's on Cunard's Queen Elizabeth cruise ship, and they were on their way to Indonesia to Bali. And I've been looking at pictures lately of Bali because I want to get back to the Asian market, the Asian area, and boy, that looks wonderful to go back to. I can't wait. And instead, that port's been canceled. The country, the city, sorry, too many cases, you can't come. And so she's been turned away and instead we'll head back to Fremantle And yeah, that's kind of disappointing because I would think Bali would be one of those stops that you just do not want to miss. Well, we have some people a little upset with Royal Caribbean, even though they don't really know what's happening yet, because isn't that always the way when change happens? But before I get there, let me just invite you to hit that subscribe button if you want to keep up to date with everything going on in cruising, from delays of cruise ships to keeping you updated with what's going on pricing, sales, fullness, COVID, all the new ships coming out, and just cruising in general. Maybe you'll learn a little bit of tricks and tips to make your cruise a little bit better, and you might just save some money along the way as well. Doesn't cost a thing. It just hit the subscribe button and a notification will come up and say, hey, there's another video up. Would you like to watch it? It doesn't even put it on and say you have to watch it. It just, would you like to watch it? It's a friendly suggestion. And again, I really do appreciate it. Okay, Royal Caribbean recently has tried a little experiment on the Symphony of the Seas where they kind of dropped classic items and they shortened the menu to see what the reaction would be on board. But they promised that, hey, no changes are going to be made until we talk to our passengers. This is not set in stone. And a lot of people were, well, okay. And a lot of people were, hey, where's this? Where's that? Like classic items like grilled chicken or New York steak were suddenly gone from the menu. Those are the things that would be optioned. You know, when you go to the main dining room, you'll have a different item every day, a few different items every day, and then you'll have some classic items or stable items that you can order. So you always know, well, if I don't like what's on the menu, I can get a chicken, or I can get a steak, or I can get this pasta. There's always something. So if they do away with that, a lot of people will lose that option. Now, they're saying they're doing this for a number of reasons. By shortening the menu, of course, it makes things easier on the kitchen staff, and they say it will speed up service. It'll also cut back on food waste. Less items, less food waste, and, you know, somewhat, it may entice people to head over to the old specialty dining. If you don't like what's in the main dining menu, well, maybe I'll spend a little extra money and I'll do the specialty restaurants to get something I do like on my cruise. You see where that goes as well. A lot of people really upset with this type of thing. They did send out a sample menu of a day for people that included things like escargot and creme brulee. So basically a couple of the classic items on the menu along with a bunch of new ones, and said, please answer some questions on the menu. They're trying to get our opinion on a lot of it, and again, they're saying, everyone knows why they're doing it. It's efficiency and money, right? It's efficiency and money. It's not to give us a better experience, because offering us less choice is not a better experience, right? Unless the food quality goes up dramatically. But here's some of the things that they said. Please, look at the menu and then also tell us what some of the things are that you look forward to when you go to the main dining. And here's some of the items. Do you like familiar items? Do you prefer healthy items? How about new items I've never seen before? Easy to understand descriptions. How about smaller portions? Listing of all ingredients on each dish, and exotic options. Now, I don't know how many of those choices you're allowed to choose. I haven't gotten my email yet. I should be getting it any second now, I imagine. But I don't imagine too many people are going to say, hey, I want smaller portions. We may think in our head we should get smaller portions, but no one really uses smaller portions because you'll just want to order more entrees. And as you've been hearing, some cruise lines are going out there, well, if you start ordering more entrees after a certain amount, you're gonna start to pay for them now. Like Royal Caribbean has now said, hey, if you want another lobster tail, you're gonna have to pay for it in the main dining room. So yeah, I don't know how this is gonna go, but from judging from comments and things that I've seen so far, a lot of people are really not happy, and a lot of people don't like change. Just don't like change, especially when it comes to food. And I understand, because I'm not a picky eater, by no means, so I'm pretty easy. But I just traveled with some people who basically eliminate all seafood from their repertoire of food, and that really cut back a lot on the menus when we were dining on board. So if you don't like a certain thing and don't like this, cutting back dishes is not going to be favorable to you. But cruise lines are looking for a way to save money, and Royal Caribbean is no different. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Would you be upset not being able to go to Bali because of COVID? How about scrambling for a hotel because the ship is delayed? A good reason. Let's face it, you're heading out to try and save somebody's life. It's a good reason to miss a cruise, be delayed a day. Right? It's much better than the ship broke down. And then, of course, changes in the main dining room. How happy would you be for all those loyal to Royal people out there? What do you think? Well, I hope you appreciate this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. Want to see more tips, more tricks, more travel vlogs from around the world? Hit that subscribe button. Until next time, have yourself a safe and a great vacation.